Hey, the big news for today is Tesla a sell or is it a buy? That's one of the things we're going to be addressing today in the Market Tech Talk Live show. Basically, yeah, Tesla, whoo, my goodness gracious, continuing to fall. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So if you're joining us today, just let it be known where you're joining us from. Aloha. If you're over there on the Instagram account, please let us know and just say aloha and big shaka if you got it. Can you do that? Give me a shaka or a thumbs up to say, hey, yeah, we're live over here. If you're over on the YouTube channel or Facebook or even Twitter, just let us know you are with us. And so I'm Dennis Wilborn. I am the AutoPilot Trader, where we basically provide a clear and simple approach to swing trading profits and having a really good time doing it, having a lot of fun doing it with our premium members. Fantastic. So again, that's one of the big questions. One of the other big questions that I have moving into today is this, and it's very simple, is what about NVIDIA? NVIDIA is basically been given a new upside target. So we're going to be taking a look at NVIDIA to see if NVIDIA is worth investing in at this particular time. And they're also going to look at some stocks in the news. IBD just came out with a new report on the 95%, which companies are now outperforming 95% of all stocks. Why is it important to know that information? Well, if we know how many these particular handful of stocks that are outperforming 95% of the stock, they tend to stay in the lead and they tend to continue to move up. So we'll see if that in fact is the case. And so let's go ahead and jump over and take a look at what the heck is going on in the news. As we see here, stocks, basically to watch, these companies are outperforming 95% of the other stocks. And down here, is Tesla stock a buy or a sell? As the negative headlines continue to pile up on Tesla, do we buy Tesla here or is there some more downside? I think you'll be really shocked. I know that I have been forecasting that Tesla could fall as low as $120, and everybody's just basically been just laughing at Dennis and it doesn't ever get that low again. The fact of the matter is it appears on Tesla that the path of least resistance is down. So we'll take a look and see what that means. But first, before we do that, let's take a look at, as you see down here in the lower corner here, let me move that up a little bit so you can see it. Dow Jones rises as NVIDIA gets big price target hike. Tesla slides on downgrades, as we talked about that. So why don't we start there and then we'll come back over into what is the projection on NVDA? There we go. So let's see what NVDA has to say. So go ahead and click on that. And NVIDIA. So meanwhile, NVIDIA is dropped despite a price target hike. How much did they hike the price target? Well, let's go down here and continue. NVIDIA declined 3.5%. Tesla's off 2.5%. They're going to tell us, oh, here we go, right here. So they moved the price targets. Bank of America Securities did up to $1,100 on NVIDIA, currently setting in their previous mark was at $925. So is it reasonable to think that NVIDIA is going up? Why is NVIDIA a better buy than Tesla right now? We'll get into that here shortly. Again, aloha over there on the Instagram channel. I'm glad to see you over there. So that's one of the things we're looking at. I've got a couple other stocks that I think if you're a crypto trader, you may want to take a look at. Let's go ahead and back out here to the other stocks. And where did that go? It's one of the things we always have to watch. Here we go. What are the other stocks that are outperforming 95% of all the other stocks that are out there. Let's take a look at that. One of the reasons I do this session, and please tell your friends about this every Wednesday live session, what I do on that is I go through my end of day routine, plus cover a couple of things that are in the news. And it's important to know what your end of day routine is. If you have the luxury to be, where you can access the market during the final hour, it can provide you some really great opportunities at the end of the day. Why do I like end of the day trading so much? Well, I'll cover that shortly. So let's see what stocks they are looking at. Stocks hitting, let's see. Go. So it goes into basically stocks to watch, often have a 95% higher composite. And so it tells you how to find those. And it's one of the things we do every weekend for the AutoPilot Trading members is we do a sort of the 14 different IBD premium watch list to come up with a approximately 25 stocks that we then roll into our top 5 list. And of course, here's where they're going to show it. Stick price, stock picking criteria. So are they going to show us which ones? So we may have to dig a little bit deeper here. So it looks like Abercrombie and Fitch. JFrog joins elite list of 95 plus. Ross Stores. Endeavor, composite above 95. What else we have here? HOV and HCI Group. Let me see if I can, this will spit out a larger number for us. And basically, so it's not going to give us the list of stocks they're looking at, but they do provide a little sneak peek on it. What else we want to see here? Let's take a look at. Sometimes you click on these things and you get more than you bargained for. Sometimes you click on it, you get, hey, from Portugal. Hola. I think that's what they say in Portugal, I think. So I'll get the Tesla shortly. Yeah, here we go. Let's take a look here at the IBD 50 growth stocks to watch. That's a great area to take a look at. IBD 50 is one of the, so from BABA, Apple, Netflix, NVIDIA, virtually all the best stocks typically appear on the IBD 50 first. And so basically see the current list. And so we'll just take a peek at that and see if we can, in fact, see the current list. Now, of course, I encourage you to, there we go. Yeah, there we go. And so we've got GCT, top of the list. One of the studies that I've done in the past on the IBD 50 list, I'm going to give you a secret. In reality, this is kind of the only list you really need. Now, do I look at all the other 13 lists? I sure do. Why? Because it's important to know the best stocks appear on more than one list. And so when they're starting to hit 4 or 5 lists that they're appearing on, makes it really great to cherry pick those stocks off the top and basically watch those stocks in particular. But some of the favorite names, we are going to take a look at ARM, GCT, NVDA, CELF, VRT, CrowdStrike. We also want to take a look at CrowdStrike today. Today's going to be kind of let's take a look at the stock opportunity. My system had taken me out of almost everything, just put us back into one ETF and one stock today. We were triggered in. And I go over my triggers in my book, Trade Your Way to Freedom book. You can get over on the Instagram, over on my training platform, and I'll put a link down in the description on that, or you can pick it over up on Amazon, one of the best sellers over on Amazon. Trade Your Way to Freedom by Dennis Wilborn. And my buddy Mike Lamoth actually did the forward for that. So a couple of stocks that we'll take a look at, and we'll dive down through them. Again, okay. So let's go ahead, back out of this, go back to the news. There we go. And I'm going to go to one other place here, and we're going to take a look at this particular stock in depth. And it's right here. Is Tesla a buy? I did not realize until I started looking at that Tesla had been downgraded to a sell, and we'll get a little bit more information about that. And as you can see right here, Tesla stock is angling lower in 2024. It was angling down towards the bottom of a downtrending channel. Breaks out the bottom of that channel. Oftentimes that can be devastating. I know this is I don't mean it to be derogatory towards Tesla, because I really like Elon Musk and all the things that he's done with Tesla. At the same time, though, I can't help but think about the chart of Enron. If you haven't seen the chart of Enron, go ahead and just find that chart, find the story about Enron. And in 2000, and that is ENRON, I'll type that in the chat box there so you can see what that is. If you got that, please let me know. Take a look at the chart of Enron and the clues it was giving at the top. There was no reason for people to ride the Enron sled into the ground the way they did if they knew anything about technical analysis. And so with that said, just some interesting similarities between Tesla and Enron. And I'm not saying that Enron's going to, go into the dirt or anything or that Tesla's going to go into the dirt. I'm not saying that. However, take a look at the chart and then make up your own mind. And at the same time, Enron never turned around from its death dive. So what is it? 2003 in the rearview mirror. Analyst consensus now on 2024 is below 2023 levels. I like what Mark Minervini says about the rearview mirror view, or the 2020 hindsight is basically nothing more than an illusion. If you agree with that, if you agree that it's nothing more than an illusion, 2020 hindsight, type a Y down in the comment section just to let me know are you awake? Are you alive? So Jonas slashed Tesla's price target to 320, down from 345, but maintain an overweight on it. And let's see where we're going. So far in 2024, Tesla's stock has retreated over more than 38%. Hey, Jim Lee. Meanwhile, Wells Fargo downgraded Tesla. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry for that. I was getting excited because I called for a downside target on Tesla. Ready for the drum roll? You ready for it? Between 100 and 120. Meanwhile, Wells Fargo downgrades Tesla to underweight with a price target of 125, down from 200. The firm's underweight rating is equivalent to a sell rating on Tesla. Wells Fargo expects Tesla unit volumes to disappear as price cuts with its view. Wow, this is amazing. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So increasingly, Tesla is a 2027 story, is what the Evercore analysts wrote. So what are they looking at? Coming up, they're looking at them missing their deliveries, which is never, it just, unfortunately, it just seems like piling on, one on top of the other. People basically, Tesla's getting whacked and hit. But again, take a look at that. And again, take a look at that Enron chart and the story behind Enron. It basically, they were doing with smoke and mirrors. And so hopefully Tesla's not doing the same thing. So Tesla stock is no longer a best idea. Wow, that's kind of like just so. Now, if you would, you could potentially here. Let me take that up because I think that's the last one of the news articles we're going to cover. We're going to jump into the other pieces of that. And so now the question is okay, what do you do if you own Tesla? Do you keep riding the bumpy ride down, or do you take your profits? Tip for today. Here's a tech tip for today. If you're in a stock and it is up over, let's say over 50%, 50, 100%, whatever like that, there's not a darn thing wrong with carrying a trailing stop of somewhere between 25 and 30%. The question you have to answer for yourself is, how much pain do you want to endure? If you're perfectly okay watching your investment that your gains drop 50%, I mean, to me, that would hurt. I would go, oh, that hurts. But you know what happens to sometimes long-term holders? They just kind of close their eyes and hold their nose and plug their ears and let the price fall and fall and fall and fall. And then in 3 years from now, they wake back up and say, oh, look, it came back. But dadgummit, that's for me, the way I'm looking at it, guys, is that's not a real great use of capital. I mean, heavens, if you want a better use of capital, and if you agree with this, lay a yes down in the comments. If you want a better use of capital, how about doing this? Learn how to trade TQQ or TNA. Those are leverage ETFs for the Russell and the NASDAQ. And over a year's period of time, those have big enough moves where they could come, and they usually move about 4 to 6 times up 25 or more percent. And you think about that. You don't have to catch all the move, but if you catch 5 of those 15 or 20% moves, that's a compounding amount of over 100%. To me, seems like a more logical approach, but what do I know? I've only been doing this for like 30 years, and we specialized over at AutoPilot Trading doing the leverage ETFs because they basically follow a similar pattern year after year after year after year, going back to when they originated back in the early 2000s. Things like TNA, TQQ, my goodness, they've repeated almost the same pattern year after year, where you can get in, write it for 15 or 20%, get out, wait, it happens again. And it happens about, like I said, 4 to 6 times per year. So if you're interested in something like that, drop me a note, or I'll give you a link over in the description when we post this, when this video, when this live session is over, on how to jump on board with that. So that's what we're looking at with, and I'm going to stop my screen share. We're going to go jump in and let's take a look at some charts. I love looking at charts. It is and Jim Lee can vouch for me. I am a really great technical analyst. I'll pick on Jim. Let's see, there we go. I think that's the one I want. That is the one I want. Okay, we'll jump over to that here shortly. Matter of fact, we'll jump over to it right now. And I'm going to shrink me down to that lower corner. And what are we looking at here? We're looking at a picture of NVDA. So one of the things, once a company comes out or a analyst comes out and gives a new forecast, what do you say? We get $1,100 or so on NVDA. Well, let's just take a real quick peek of how far that would be. I always like to basically grab my Fibonacci's, and I'm going to go from this high here down to this low here. Now let's start clicking this up. And the 1272 is about the 10 1063 level, 1060 level. So 1272 is a really great area to be taking a look at. 1618 up about 1167. So running up in between those from a Fibonacci standpoint would be a reasonable upside target. Now that was a target for the year. So the thing that's funny about NVDA, that'll do it. The thing that's interesting about NVDA is we could run up that much and it could still come back down and have an interesting year. But NVDA still leads the way in the space for AI. Let's go over to here's another picture here. Now on this particular one, I want to grab and I want to put a highlight up here about the $1,100 level. So this becomes a new target for me up here. I'll just leave that in there, drop it in. There we go. And go do a real quick correction on that. Edit that, make it 1,100 even. And I'm going to put that as my green upside target and just leave it there. And then it's just sitting out. But one of the things I want to do, though, is I want to take a look at the fibs. And the Fibonacci's here. I could either pull from this high down to that swing low there. That's the most recent swing, so that makes sense to do that. Grab that, back down to here. Oh, my goodness gracious. Here's what I absolutely loved. You know, that gentleman, whoever it is, said that we would get up to approximately the 1,100 level. That corresponds within $16 of being the 1272 extension. And if you want more information about how to interpret Fibonacci's, again, at the end of, well, I'll put a link in the description to that particular video on my on the YouTube channel. So NVIDIA. So what about Tesla? Well, we're not ready for Tesla yet. Let's take a look at. That was sneaky, wasn't it? I'm sorry, guys. So let's take a look at CrowdStrike. Is CrowdStrike a buy? Now, this is really interesting. One of the things I just clicked over and started working off of in the chapter in my book, Trade Your Way to Freedom, that talks about where to enter, where I go through basically primary setups, main setups. These happen over and over again. It has to do with support. It has to do with momentum. It has to do with basically the TSI momentum shift down here and the trend. I'm one of the triggers is trigger off the 8-day moving average. And I've revised my Keltner channels so that the main line on my Keltner channel is the 8-day moving average. Hey, Jake. And so look at that. You know, Jake. So yeah, we're Tanet. We're gonna Tanet. Is it Tanet or Tanet? I'm gonna get to Tesla. I'll be back to it. Don't leave. I'll be right back to it. So I'm really liking this on CrowdStrike. This, we made just a bunch of money on CrowdStrike last year. We got into CrowdStrike right here in October of last year, right there, about I'm actually right in there, about the 2-1 fee level. And we rode CrowdStrike up, taking, there we go. We rode CrowdStrike up from this level here. I'll put it right there. Up to one. We got out at 10%, got out at 20%, and we actually just closed out the rest of it just prior to earnings. And I think it was about in that area. So we were actually up, we got out right there. So and that was NVIDIA's reaction to NVIDIA's earnings. So got out about 95% profit, which was really excellent. And so CrowdStrike, yeah, looking very positive, folks, for a potential trade. And again, Jake, I do like that. Where's the 8-day going to be tomorrow? About the 326 level. That'd be a really great opportunity to jump on a trade there. With even if it just gets back to the past high here, what kind of move is that? Let's go from here up to approximately there. Okay, that's about 10%. But we know that, I'm going to go back here to the weekly. Sorry about the bouncing back and forth. We know that this has a strong possibility to go exceeding that and heading up even more. So I'm looking at an upside target on this, and I'm just going to do a simple target based off the Fibonacci's from there to there. Upside target somewhere between 378 up to 403, up to 403. So if you like that, CrowdStrike looks pretty darn good. What about one of the stocks that I'm watching in the crypto space is Marathon. And Marathon is I think it's a mining company. It's a for crypto mining. But look at what's going on here. I want to show you. It is basically just putting in some really great looking patterns. And oh my gosh, when it moves a lot, and it moves big. When it broke structure here, it closed above the 8-week moving average, ran all the way up here, 232% in 42 days. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty darn good move. If I would have waited for the close back below the 8-week, I'd still have been up 100+%. So loving that. So what's Mara doing? What I'm looking for Mara to do, folks, is basically drop back down into this zone here. That turns out to be a Fibonacci retracement zone, dropping back down into that area there. I'm looking for a target, potential target area, anywhere from 1655 all the way down to 1471. I will put an alert down there. That line right there is the 50-day moving average, 200-day moving average at 1513. And even if I just bounce down here, it runs back up. This move from here to here, okay, that was 74% in 8 days. On to the other high, that puts us up there at about 93%. And so on a situation like that, if I were picking up that amount of profit, what I would definitely do is I'd be looking at scaling out of that at those higher levels, or up here at this level here, because I'll bet you that $30 corresponds to, let me find $30. Yeah, it did. It corresponded to this move up here, corresponded to a past high. And that is always a great target to take your profits at. So that's Mara. And so 2 other ones I want to take a look at, and then we'll jump over to our buddy Tesla, that's TNA. And what I want to show you on TNA primarily is I'm going to dip this back. I'll do it right here. Now, this is TNA. This is a weekly chart. And just look at some of these runs here, okay? From the low here, double bottom here, up to the top was a nice move, about 55%. That's once last year, or within the last 12 months. And then we had another one here. Of course, this one took off and ran like a bandit, 96%. And so it doesn't happen every time, but it does happen all the time. 35% right there on the bounce back up to the upside. What about TQQ? So right now, TNA is kind of showing us a bearish type of a candlestick on the weekly. Let me go to the daily, see what it looks like. Yeah, on the weekly. So I'm watching that. We had a spinning top followed by a bearish. And this week so far, we've got a bearish engulfing. If that remains the same and we break back down below the 8-week, that may project that we would be heading down to about that level there, the $33 level. In a situation like that, I would want to be looking to trade TZA, which is a leverage inverse ETF, and picking that up and expecting it to run to the top of the Keltner channel at least, or maybe back up to this level here. And what would that be? Let's just grab that to give an estimate. If it gets back to the past high, we're talking about 29, 30%. If we got more serious about the sell-off, we would even be bouncing higher. So what about TQQQ? TQQQ. There we go, 3 Qs. Oftentimes I forget the third Q, and I have to apologize for that. And what happens when I forget the third Q? Basically the captions show it as TQQ. So TQQ, as we see, bearish engulfing off last week's candlestick. We came up into the mid section of the last week's candlestick right now. This is not a bullish sign. This is a bearish kind of reversal. TSI has crossed to the downside. The RSI has dropped below the 870 line. And so it looks like the momentum is trying to shift to the downside. What about on the daily chart? Okay, yeah. Here's a daily chart. Now this structure here, I'm going to say this uptrending structure, it actually will be broken if we close back down below probably the 58.93 to 58.50 level and drop down. Oftentimes with this type of a format, let me see if I can, there we go, show you to a little bit better, is when we're just making our rollover, you'll get a drop down to the lower level of the Keltner and then a bounce. It's if we take out this low at, I'm going to say 58.06, then I want to watch what the rebound is. If the rebound is back up and the rally attempt fails, that's our clue that it's time to jump on the NASDAQ to the downside. The other piece of that is, let me blow this up again, is notice what happened. We hit a high here. Intraday hit a higher high here, while the momentum indicators, both TSI and RSI, are still continuing down. So if price action breaks the structure of the uptrend and the momentum continues to point down, expect a move on TQQ much lower. I mean, we could, bust down here to the 50-day moving average. Always take a look at QQQQ to make sure it's in agreement with TQQ, because TQQ sometimes is a leverage ETF and has the issue of backwardation and contango. So it looks pretty good from there. So on this one, we could be looking to trade SQQQ, which is the leverage inverse ETF. And I would say, and I know Jake likes to use we all like to use the 8-day because it is very indicative. 8-day, not quite getting a close above it yet, but that would give us a clue about taking a run back up off of the 8-day. Let me just take a real quick peek here from where it's at to that low. Yeah, it's about 6%. If I was going to use that swing low right there as my stop loss. So that's really interesting. So what about our buddy Tesla? Hold on a second. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, Tesla is driving towards a collision with the bottom section of the bottom of the downtrending channel. Couple of rules to apply, and I think Jeff C. Livermore was one of the ones who spoke about this, was that he said, never buy a downtrending stock, is basically what he said, and longer-term downtrending. Now, there's pullbacks, okay? That's a short-term downtrend within a longer-term uptrend. That's different. That's a different process. But as we reach out to the weekly chart on Tesla, you'll see what I'm talking about. So price-wise, I'm just going to talk about price right now. Price-wise, Tesla's got, everything going against it. We've got the 200-day moving average is up here. Let me grab that. 200-day moving average is right there. All the moving averages, shorter term, are are pointed down. So that's one of the things they want you to look at from a trend perspective. If all the moving averages are, and they're all stacked in a bearish level as we continue to drop. I put an alert right there at about 167.73 because you get taken into consideration the thickness of the downtrend line. And, we're probably talking about 167.50. I want to know when it gets there, and are we going to bounce? Now, if we bounce, it doesn't mean necessarily we're going to jump on a trade on this because it's got a lot to do to prove itself. So what else? Let's drop back to, if we break out of that level right there, the bottom of if we break out the bottom of the downtrending channel, where's it likely to go? Well, next stop from there is the 152.37 level, 152.37, which corresponds to where buyers came in last time. If you're a follower of Wyckoff, you know that that there are buyers still hanging out down here between the 165 and 152, 153 area, who missed the buy here. So they're going to basically say, oh, I'm going to try it, hoping that it stops right there. That's what they're hoping for. So then, well, what happens if that breaks? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look at the monthly chart. The monthly chart provides us a really excellent potential. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And here's how the rest of it stacks up. Let me go here. There we go. The rest of it stacks up like that. If I break the 152 area, the bottom of this big green candle here is basically the opening for that month. Whenever you have a candlestick like this, the beginning and ending of the body itself is the strongest levels of both support and resistance. The wick is either on top or the bottom is important information to know, but it's not quite as strong of a support area in this particular case. So the next one is at that support area, that swing low, 101.81, 101.81. But what happens if that breaks? Next level of support where we got a breakout previously was down here at $64.60. Now, are we going to get down to $64.60? I'm not going to stand here and say, yep, that's what's going to happen without a doubt, because we have to trade this. There's a myriad of things that could happen to help Tesla bounce at a higher level, but they haven't happened yet, okay? And as I said earlier, the path of least resistance appears to be down. Now, how much further down? I haven't got a clue. I mean, nobody has a clue, really. But I know one thing is if you're looking to buy Tesla, well, here's a couple of clues you can be looking for. This is on the monthly chart. As long as the momentum, I'll just draw this out here, the momentum, TSI, and or the RSI, as long as it's pointing that way, until that momentum structure is broken, then the potential is that Tesla's going to continue to fall. So that's one of the clues, because I encourage you, go back and look at least, if not the monthly, the weekly chart. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. remove that, and also remove that. And I'd like to expand this out a little bit. Pay attention to when like here's a really great location right here. This was the low from back in what 2023. Note that a lot of people will over anticipate getting into the trade based on, this is important, based on the momentum dropping into the lower reversal zone. And this happened with both TSI and RSI. And so what they will do, as soon as it drops below it, they start buying. Now, that's one way to do it. However, you need to recognize that from the time it breaks below there, it still could fall one heck of a lot. Like in case of Tesla, 42+%. It fell before it actually bottomed. A better way to treat this is note. Okay, let me go back and grab. How many weeks was it from here until here? Well, that turned out to be approximately from the time it dropped below it until it came back up. That turned out to be 36 days or 6 weeks. 6 weeks to patiently wait. So, with that being said, then since we're dropping below the line, close to dropping below the line, we could go below the line and anywhere from 6 weeks or more before you're ready to take the muffins out of the oven, if you will. If you take them out too early, they're not going to be cooked, and so that's one of the things you can do is you can wait and take a look at every one of these when they go back and take a look, especially on the weekly, because that's where you're going to get your strongest signal from the time it starts to curve up until it actually breaks out the other side. Figure out on average how many weeks that is, and then basically you will be so further ahead than other traders who jump in too early. Because what they're going to do, they're going to have their stop loss in place. Hopefully they have their stop loss in place, and they're going to be getting stopped out just about the time you're going to be jumping into the trade. So, is that a good tip? Let me know. Guys, if you haven't ever seen that before, it's something, just, make a note, put it in your journal. So I got time to take a look at a couple of stocks you want to look at. So if you want to let me know what they are, we'll take the next 3 or 4 minutes, because I am going to shut us down early enough in case you have to make adjustments to anything you have on, that you're watching in the market. Any stocks you want me to take a look at? Going once. Going twice. Okay, if you found this today's session net, okay, Jake, let's take a look at net. If you found this session valuable, please let your friends know about it. Net, really getting a very interesting. Net, I know, has a really good rating on IBD. However, what's going on with net right now, Jake, is basically we're just getting a doldrum on the momentum as it's just driving sideways. The good side is all right. Thanks, guys. And I will get AMD, Zach. That'll be the last one. So a couple of things. How do we want to trade it? Well, there's a couple of different ways. One, you can take this trend line there. That's one. But as you can see, when we move into a sideways trend like this, trading off the 8-day moving average becomes a little bit more of a challenge. And so oftentimes on this, I will lay in, a line across the bottom that connects as many of the past lows as possible. We may get a drop here, or I'll flip over to what are we seeing on the weekly chart. And as you see, weekly chart we're right against the 8 The downside of the weekly right now, the way I'm seeing it, Jake, is my momentum is shifted to the downside. Does not look like it wants to shift up yet. So again, I would go back and take a look at how deep did I dive off of when like the TSI or the market forecast just dropped below. So grab a fib extension, and here's how far it dove last time. Took that up, dropped that up to there, and that gives me a target zone of it's actually has actually pulled back what in the exact symmetric move of that move there. That's where it's sitting right now. So that's a positive. However, it may overshoot back to the breakout area. So for me, it would be I would be in a pause and hold on this one. And Zach AMD. Yeah, AMD, really nice pullback. But what's happened with the daily momentum is shifted. So we want to wait for the structure change. We may get back into this area here, which is a magic fib box, the 38, 68 and 38, 618 and the 38% with a 50 in the middle. That's where it might go to. Note, we've dropped the 8. So that's telling me that we're probably likely to drop down to, I would say 187-ish would be where I would put in my alert. Take a look at the weeklies. Similar type situation. This weekly move right across there, Zach, is really interesting, where it zigzagged every day. Know how big that is. So from the bottom of that to the top of it, if Dennis can draw in the line, there we go. From approximately the bottom to the top, to the top, to the top. There we go. Dadgummit. There we go. It's about 13%. So that's kind of cool. We know, but I would say, yeah, look for, put an alert, like I said, about the 187 to 185. Watch that 8-week moving average. So, okay, I think we killed it today. As I said, if you have found this valuable, please, one, leave some comments and like it on the YouTube channel, Market Tech Talk. Tell your friends that the ancient trader, wisdom from the ancient trader, because I've been doing this a long time. So again, aloha, God bless everybody. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next Wednesday. So see ya. And everybody over on the YouTube, on Instagram, hey, Joan, how are you doing? Aloha and God bless everybody. Thanks for joining us.